couple people. Okay, so we talked a lot about starting with the end of and we're only going to go for about another 10 minutes because I know some of you guys travel all day and are tired. But we're going to a lot to do tomorrow because you can see we've only touched like the first couple pages of this book. I know Narissa brought these books back. I'm like, holy shit, what did I do? But okay, so we've talked about timeline, why that's important. So here's this is, and poor Anderson, Alabama. I beat on this because it sticks in my head, right? I beat on it all the time. So I don't know how long ago this was. Last year we got this deal, and look at it, cute house, like farmhouse front porch, great, right? And we're under contract at like 20, and I'm like, man, we're gonna make 10 grand off this. This is gonna be the greatest deal ever. It's gonna be easy. But yet there were some problems. So our dispo team could not move this no matter, what's that?
I had the wrong Anderson, I'm sorry.
Anderson, Alabama, I don't know what the county is. But I got so aggravated, I know a lot of these things because I went back to acquisitions and like we've got to stop doing this, right? Again, on July 1st, I blew up my company and threw like 14 people out because they were doing this continuously. So this is that haphazard marketing where you're just throwing shit out there and you're getting these weird contracts and you're contracting stuff too high. So Anderson, Alabama, 282 is the population. I'm like, what do you want me to sell this to? Sell this to one of the other 281 people in town who don't know this house and don't know this seller. You understand what we're doing here, right? This is wholesale. So yeah, you're too small. You're in a pond with no fish and one snapping turtle, and that thing just cannot wait to take your finger off, right? And I think what happened is they were doing Huntsville marketing and somehow pulled this deal in, because Huntsville, by the way, is an amazing market. I wouldn't tell everybody that, but it's awesome. It's very under the radar. But yeah, 59.2. I was so mad. I'm doing this, right? Like, I'm so mad because we just cannot sell this property no matter what we are doing. And this is the problem with bad marketing is I paid someone to drive down there to go get pictures. You know, we pulled a list. We paid for that. We skip traced it. We SMS. We RVM. We email. You know, we take calls. You know, our poor dispo girls working on this thing for 2 weeks, and I'm like, there's nobody else for me to call. Brooke, what do you say? I've called the phone book.
Like so you get me a phone book.
Get me a phone book so I can just call the rest of the people in the town, right? It's again, nothing is impossible. I'm not the naysayer guy. I believe there's a solution for everything. This is what we want to spend our time on, right? So if this does pop up in your marketing because you're marketing for Huntsville, and maybe legit the guy had a house in Huntsville and you called him about something else, and this is the one he said, hey, I want to sell it, and I'll give it to you for 20 grand, and you're like, that's a great deal. Like, maybe legit, when you went, and here's a Zillow issue, right? You went to Zillow, and the Zestimate was 80 grand. Because we understand, right? Zillow just pulls a radius. You're like, 25 cents on the dollar, that's a deal, right? But how many properties sold in the last year in Anderson, Alabama? 3. So that's where that Zestimate comes from, right? So we're going to talk a ton about evaluating properties.
Back to that, giving back to your community bullet point on your slide.
Yeah.
Increasing sales.
Problem is I have to make some money to give some money back, right? You know, the 4 laws of spiritual prosperity and all that, which you guys should read. I'm a great believer in that tithing and all that. But God, I mean, I cannot lose 12 grand on this property because that's about what I would have to sell. I would have to probably sell it for 8. So this is just a really great example of acquisitions just not understanding. So I get when contracts come in, I have a Apple Pod or Apple HomePod or whatever, all the time. Hey Siri, what's the population of Anderson, Alabama? It's like first thing I do because she can do it faster than I can type it. Oh, 282. We're not doing this. All right. So what I do tell them is one, because there's so many problems in this, right? Yes, you're going to get the contract, and you're going to feel really great about it because nobody else has called this guy about this house in Anderson, Alabama. Right? If you're marketing into Cleveland or Cincinnati or Charlotte, you ever the first guy to talk to somebody? Probably not. Right? They've all talked to somebody. I know I get properties, I get text blasted all day long. So when you call this person, like, yeah, I want to sell this deal, and you're like, someone's like, I'm going to shoot low because I know Zillow is 80. Would you take 20 for it? Yes, I would. Like when they say it like that, you should know you have a problem. Right? We've, when I had a team
So
of
after you say 20, that's when you go,
yeah, I might have. Listen, we've
oh wait, I already offered.
Yeah, too late, right? Because they didn't know enough to go look at a couple of other indicators. We've in the previous first 2 quarters of the year, before that, we had an acquisitions team, and I don't want to beat on because they've just had bad leadership. But yeah, we got 9 contracts in Indiana this week. That's awesome. Like, how the fuck did we start marketing in Indiana and you got 9 contracts in 1 week? I'll tell you how. Nobody else is calling where you're calling, and you're offering too much, and every one of those contracts died. All right, but we spent a ton of money on them trying to get them moved. So this is it. This is in a nutshell. This is what happens when you don't do good marketing. You don't understand where you're going. Your acquisitions people don't understand what's happening. The acquisitions person was rightfully very happy that they got it at 20% of zero, right? And they should be, because that's the only thing you taught them. How are you going to yell at that person? You told them to get it at 42, and they come in like, got it at 25 cents on the dollar. That's great. Yeah, but you can't sell it. It's not a sellable contract. I mean, it's a sellable contract that you can assign it, you can sell it. But what are you going to do with it? Like, there's no buyers. Right? The first thing I do all the time is I always ask Siri, what's the population if it's someplace I don't recognize? And then I'll look on the map and go, oh, Eastridge has 22,000 people, right? It's kind of small, but it's next to Chattanooga that has 150. That's okay. We'll talk about secondary markets tomorrow. But it's 52 miles away to the coastal city. Like, we market it to like Jackson, Mississippi. That's a kind of it. Like, we found every big town that we could find on the map without zeroing out so small that nobody wanted nothing to do with it.
Do you think the fact that it was commercial hurt it too? Or what?
Look, I was trying to like put every possible good spin on it that I could. That's me digging really deep to put the best optimistic spin on it that I possibly could.
Okay.
No, it was on the side of a road, a 2-lane road that had been vacant for a long. It was just wasn't a deal. This wasn't a deal we should have been spending our time on. There was always, when I say everything is sellable, there's always the bigger fool theory. Right? Understand that, like that's a legit thing. We had a friend of mine who is a rehabber here in town, Joey Glisson, and he bought a deal in Cleveland, Tennessee, just up the road here, from some wholesalers out of California, and he calls me like, hey man, I just legit don't have time to do this deal. Can you move it for me? I'm like, my dude, I guess, like, what do you want to do? You want just looking to get out of it? Well, no, I bought it for 25. I want to get 35 out of it. I'm like, Joey, man, you bought it for the top wholesale number. Now you want 10, and you want me to put 10 on top of that, dude. We did, spoiler alert, we did sell it because there's always a bigger fool, right? You may find the bigger fool out there who's, and we're in a crazy market where people will pay, but you can't run your business looking for the bigger fool. Like that can't be the plan. And that's what you're when you
that bears repeating.
No,
I mean,
it's true.
It's hopium, right? You get addicted to it.
Hopium. I like that.
Yeah.
Hopium.
You're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance. Sure, but I got people that are all paid on commission, right? Hopium doesn't pay the mortgage. Hopium doesn't pay the car payment. Hopium doesn't feed the cat. So, it's our job to not do this. This is why we have the timeline, right? They have to understand. Otherwise, you're just gonna beat your freaking head against the wall. And will one of them 1 out of 10 sell? Sure. I'm not saying it won't sell. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is it the best use of your time and your money? Well, that feels like a good place to stop. For those that are watching, for you guys. We'll probably flip on the camera at 9:30 Eastern time tomorrow, or just a little bit before. But we'll have some coffee and bagels and everything here in the morning. So if you're staying in a hotel, you don't have to have terrible hotel food. Einstein bagels, which is like my favorite. Some Dunkin' Donuts and Dunkin' Coffee. And also tomorrow we've got Keurigs in here and more food and soda than you could ever want. So whenever you want, just get up and go in there and get it. I tell people we're the eatinest place you've ever seen. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for coming. If you have stuff that you want to get covered tomorrow, please write it down. come find me or text me or give it to one of them, and we'll make sure that we cover it. I want you all to leave with all the stuff that that is important to you. So, when I type these things up, I'm trying to imagine what's important to you, but if there's something that we didn't cover, which is why I wrote a couple things down there, tell me, and we've got it. And if there's forms that aren't in the book, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a Google Drive as we're talking, some things that we want to add in, like blank copies of the contracts and that stuff, and you all get that when we're done. So, yeah, that's it. Good?
Nice.